So it looks like it's out of Brust and into Macedon, aka Maiden, aka Macedonia, aka inconsistent name land, for Mary Sue. I still don't see why it was the American version that kept it close to Macedonia. I still thought they would be the ones to censor the name of an enemy country being the name of a real-life country. I still don't see why that happened, but anyway, we got a new artwork here of... Yeah, it doesn't look too good for Minerva here. So apparently, yes, she led the country after the War of Shadows, despite the fact that she didn't want to, according to her ending. And she, yeah, good on her for exiling all the corrupt generals. Unfortunately, there was one corrupt general who didn't take too kindly to that, and was like, hey, other corrupt generals, let's stage a corrupt revolution. Sadly enough, though, there have been incidents like this happening in real-life history. For some reason, I don't know why, but I'm starting to think of, the circumstances are a little different, but the samurai rebellion in Japan, around the time when the samurai felt like they were useless in the new rule, late 19th, early 20th century, and started to rebel. Anyway, going away from world history for a bit there. Yes, this conversation is where the start of a sequence of conversations where Jagan will evaluate your My Unit based on their stats. So, he's going to talk about Mary Sue's speed at this point, and of course, he has to give her the highest praise because she is a Sue and there is nothing she can do wrong. And I think it's based on your speed, like, relative to your class, because, as a Cavalier at the moment, her speed's not that high overall, but it's pretty high by her class's standards, considering she used to be a Myrmidon. But first, here's Anna. She's, back, apparently, and, Mary Sue feels like she met her, despite the fact that she was still being created at the time. But she's going to tell us about this new feature called How's Everyone? Love that localization, by the way. In the Japanese version, this was called, roughly translated, Everyone's Conditions. But because that was such an awkward name, English fans really didn't know what to call this system. Eventually, they settled on clock bonuses. But now it looks as though we finally have a name for it. And How's Everyone? Really, yeah, it works, the name. So Anna doesn't quite fully explain exactly what this does. But in a way, okay, if you think back to one of my other playthroughs, The World Ends With You, this is similar to the shutdown PP system in World Ends With You. Basically, the longer you have the game turned off for, the more bonuses you'll get from this. So basically the game picks a random character out of all the ones you have, and they get a bonus. The bonuses can include items, as you saw there, becoming closer to my unit, more items, or the other bonuses include temporary stat boosts, which only last for one chapter, and are really notoriously unreliable, or experience points. But those experience points can't take the character above a level. If they would, they'll just have 99 EXP. So basically there I just showed you the two items I got. Res Potion boosts resistance by 2 for one chapter. Can be useful sometimes. Might want to save that for a bit later. And the Bamboo Sword is a sword with low might but very high critical. So for classes like Myrmidons, it can be pretty useful. Because, I mean, yeah, if you critical, I mean, the low might is pretty much offset. Right, now Martha's talking about what happened in the previous war with Macedon, aka Maiden, aka, I should stop that before it becomes old. So, yes, this flashback is in fact taken from the special boss conversation between Minerva and Mishalis, if you have them fight, and the story of this game assumes that that was the canon outcome. It'll become more important later, but it assumes that canonically, Minerva dealt the final blow to Mishalis. Now here's a flashback to the three Pegasus sisters, the White Wings. So much better than just calling them White Knights, that was a really bland title. And this flashes back to all their triangle attack quotes. Despite the fact that we won't be able to actually use the triangle attack for a very long time. Anyway. So apparently though, yes, as the last game's ending told, Est resigned and she's now living with Abel. Apparently they've become something of an item. But, yeah, despite Shadow Dragon never hinting to that, Pala and Katria, well, we'll see where they are later. So Jagan's just going to give us an update here. Now, about these current statistics. When I first played the Japanese version, I always ignored these because I read them and they were like, yeah, Jagan's just telling you, just giving you a recap on the story. But I'm actually quite liking them now. I think it's quite nice to get, like, another character's opinion on what's going on at the moment. Originally I thought these were just for people who've taken a long break from the game and need a recap on the story. But actually, again, I like what Jagan has to say about these story issues. Still, anyway, preparations are continuing, and, what shall Mary Sue be in this chapter? I think she'll be an archer today. Despite the class sucking, but, yeah, you know. But this means I'm gonna have to, she won't be able to use her, new bad fanfic weapon. She'll just have to steal Gordon's bow, lol, I'm probably gonna have to kick Gordon because, well, I want Militia in, and she needs to take all of Whist's old staves, plus the one we got in the last chapter. Yeah, I probably want to save now. Always a good idea to save regularly during your preparations. And right, yes, I'm going to have to kick one character to put Militia in, and it looks like I'm probably going to have to kick Gordon, just because I'm not really going to be using him. Though, I mean, I could keep him in just to get his support from Ryan, but, I don't know. So let's take a look at the map, shall we? Lots of forest there. Note that thief, he'll be important later. And ooh, who's this? An archer with a portrait. That means he'll probably be joining us. A couple of wow, Draco Knights so early. Good thing though, their stats suck. Over there we see 2 cavaliers with silver swords. They are in fact a bigger threat than the Dracos. Watch out for them. And here is our boss for today, Rumel, also a Draco Knight, but his stats are a bit more competent. He also has a droppable steel axe. A droppable axe in a game where we never got axe users in the original? Is that implying something? We'll just have to wait and see. Also note that Rumel was originally equipped with a Rider's Bane. I'll talk about that later when we actually get to him. But first... oh wow, look who it is. And good thing we got a lecture on those White Wings, because we're gonna get one of them. Yes, Katria is back. So, yes, she got caught up in the rebellion, but she's fine. Oh boy, is she fine, because... okay, I'll save the gushing for when we get to her stat sheet. Be warned, massive gushing is approaching. So, of course, we've got to rescue the princess, despite the fact that she... last we saw her, she had a legendary axe, but... I don't know, I mean... she probably didn't have it on her at the time. We've got to get through these woods, and, that may have been a slip up there by the fan translation team. Shouldn't that have been Draco Knight? Anyway. Katria is suggesting we flank them from the side rather than charge straight ahead. Also, if we charge straight ahead, we'll have a movement impeded by the woods. But firstly... oh, yes. Oh, yes. I will say it right here, right now. Katria is about as close to perfection as you can get in a Fire Emblem character. Don't believe me? Okay, let's give a rundown, shall we? Growths. HP? Pretty decent, amazing by her class's standards. Strength? Great, also amazing by her class's standards. Skill? Insane. Speed? Also insane. Luck? Pretty good. Defense? Quite high by her class's standards. Resistance? Well, even having resistance is a good thing in this game. Also, now, her bases. Her bases are good enough for her to start killing things right away. She has speed enough to double, strength enough to do decent damage, and actually somewhat okay defense, and a pretty good starting resistance. She comes at a level, you know, not too low, but not really too high. She'll be getting decent experience from everything. She has no problems leveling up either. Averages. Just look at those averages. Seriously, just look at them. Not only that, remind yourself, those are just averages. There's a good chance she will end up even better than that. And that is a downright scary prospect. For all the enemies in this game. For you, it's amazing. Oh, and you need more? Well, she's a Pegasus Knight, therefore has excellent mobility, but she can also tank with the best of them once she gets to a high level. Playtime? She joins incredibly early, and that's part of the reasons that she's so completely and totally game-breaking. Supports. Just about every single character she gets support bonuses from are amazing. Really, yeah, apart from needing to keep her away from arrows early on, I mean later, she will laugh even at arrows. Katria, pretty much, there's almost nothing I can say bad about her, and so much that's good. Katria has my vote for best Pegasus Knight in the entire series. She is that good, and you will not go wrong by using her. In fact, she's near required on the higher difficulties. And that's part of the reason why, I remember before I said that she does good, but the main thing she suffers from is a lot of competition, as in the other Pegasus Knights in this game are a little too good. I was pretty much talking about Katria then. But, in fact, her sister's no slouch either. You'll see later. To sum up, Katria, amazing, broken. Oh wait, what was that sound? Oh, it was the sound of the game snapping in half. Thank you, Katria. Thank you for breaking the game. You are awesome. If you haven't realised, I like Katria and will be using her. Now you want to keep an eye on that thief there, but watch out for those archers' rage. Now, firstly though, hey, that village wasn't there in the original game. Let's see what happens if we visit it. Huh? Who's this? Hey, look, it's Cord. You weren't even there in the original Mystery of the Emblem. Yes, that's right, we are going to be getting an axe user, and yes, I'm going to need to explain something about axe users. But first, yeah, we'll find out, why he's joining us. In his own words, Cord is joining us because, quote, if Marth died, Sheeta would cry. Yes, that's his actual reason for joining. I laughed so hard when I read that in the Japanese version. Anyway, though... Hi Cord, nice to see you. For those who don't know, Cord was one of the characters who didn't appear in the original Mystery of the Emblem Book 2. And that has been remedied in the remake, and it's a very good thing that has been, because his absence from the last game led to something fairly interesting. You see, in the original Mystery of the Emblem, you had no axe users whatsoever. Yes, you heard me right, no axe users whatsoever. It wasn't that big a loss, because back then the weapon triangle didn't exist. But of course, now that it does, they had to give you an axe user, didn't they? Well, yeah, Cord is our first one. And, well, he is interesting. He's got stats typical of an axe user, great strength, but not as good skill. He's got decent speed though, and surprisingly good luck. His defense suffers a bit, but he's got good HP to make up for it. In fact, he's likely to max it. Despite that, Cord is looking pretty good, just judging by those growths at this point. But despite that, I wouldn't exactly recommend using him in the long run. The reason is not because he's not good per se, but because later on, we'll be getting an axe user who is even better. A lot better. Also, Cord actually starts with only an E in axes, which could be a bit of an issue. But still, I mean, for your first axe user, Cord is not bad, but he's certainly not the best we'll be getting. And for that reason, I'm not going to be using him at this point. But, if you really need another axe user, I'd say Cord's probably your guy. With that out of the way, it's time to venture into the woods. Yeah, I'm getting annoyed by those archers having really low movement in there. And visit a couple of houses over here. For most of these are just gameplay tips. Again, this one's talking about thieves, don't let them escape. That's important because there is a thief here that we don't want to escape. However, the good news is thieves can't actually steal your items in this game, which is good. Also, thieves work. There's another thing with thieves in this game that I really wish that earlier games in the series had obeyed, because, you might remember in my Path of Radiance playthrough, I was so annoyed when there were a bunch of thieves who would, pilfer 2 chests and then I wouldn't be able to get both items. But now, when a thief dies, they drop all the items that they were carrying, which is really good. Now, Katria could kill those archers, but then she would be brutally murdered in exchange, so I'm not going to do that. But you do want her to get as close as she can to that one guy there, the one with a portrait, without actually getting into his range, because sadly he has Mathis syndrome. And there is going on thief chasing duty. I mentioned this back in the last chapter, but he's really the one you need for this. As you can tell by that yellow square on Warren, yeah, we're going to need Katria to do something with him, but I'll mention that when we get around to not that village, we've already been there. Here we go, yep. One of these houses is going to talk about him. So apparently he went and joined the rebel army just because they paid well. And interesting. Yes, if you haven't already guessed, we need Katria to recruit him. And that's a bit of a problem, seeing as, well, he's an archer and she's a Pegasus Knight, and he has Mathis syndrome. Anyway, this one's in the obligatory Beware of Draco Knight's village. There was one of those in Shadow Dragon, wasn't there? Anyway, now this one's talking about a village treasure, the Lady Sword, which is the reason we're chasing that thief, actually. So, yes, we have to prize it back from their filthy hands. Don't worry, there will be filthy dead hands soon. But first, I am baiting these archers with my archers. And wow, okay, that just goes to show how awful the archer class is in terms of the base stats it gives. Merisu can't even double, as an archer. And she used to be a Myrmidon. Oh, hi Warren. Yeah, he's got a battle quote. Unlike Fire Emblem 4 though, you don't get a special theme for fighting recruitable allies. Speaking of Fire Emblem 4, this guy's kind of starting to remind me of, Jamaica, in the way that, he's an archer who starts as an enemy who, you have to recruit, by talking to him with someone in the middle of a forest. But anyway, okay, we can hit that save point now, but that might be not such a good idea at this point with all those archers. Right, time to get rid of this thief, though. Finally caught you.
Take that, you ruffian! Yes!
I'm glad you approve. I'm gonna have to take some time out for a few seconds to explain this. What we just got was the Lady Sword, the perfect weapon for those who believe
I am a lady, and I wish to be addressed as such.
in layman's terms, only women can use it. Unfortunately, the Lady Sword suffered a pretty massive nerf in the transition from the original Mystery to this game. In the original game, it was effective against thieves and bandits, and before you think that sounds like a trivial bonus, it wasn't, believe me. You start seeing powerful bandit-type enemies all throughout the game, even as late as the last few chapters. And thieves, well, you always want to kill them in one hit, and a weapon that helps you do that is much appreciated. Sadly, it's lost that effectiveness bonus now. What it now is, essentially, it has the might of a silver sword, but you can use it with an E ranking. So basically, it's gone from totally game-breaking to a Disc 1 nuke. For women only. Kinda sad, but given how completely game-breaking it used to be, I can understand the nerf. Still, it is a shame. It's also worth noting, Katria can no longer use it unpromoted unless you reclass her. In the original, you could dismount her and have her use it, as if she wasn't game-breaking enough as it is. Cecile can also use it, and it's pretty much the main thing she has going for her over Luke and Rhodey at this point, so if you're using her, by all means, you probably should give it to her. Other than that, really a female My Unit is pretty much the only one who can use it at this point. But, enough talk about that, it's time for Warren. So yeah, basically like the village hinted, Katria can talk to him and sway him over to your side. Basically he's just doing it saying like, you know, money is one thing, but you know, you've got to have principles. Why work for a corrupt military who's trying to take over the country? In other words, she's kind of trying to convince him, screw the money, we have rules. I'm sorry, I had to say that. And the cool thing about this game, which I really like and was really annoyed when I went to Path of Radiance and realized you couldn't do it, characters can attack after they talk. But wait a minute, first, hi, who is this guy again? Oh, wait a minute, it's just Warren. Yeah, in the original Mystery of the Emblem, Warren suffered from being, to put it bluntly, bland and uninteresting, both in story and in gameplay. Now, well, it's safe to say he's gotten a little better. Warren previously had an absolutely abysmal speed growth, and though he had better base stats than the other two archers you have by this point, you wouldn't want to let those fool you. He still kind of sucked. Now, well, actually, he's got an awful lot better. As you can see there, he specializes in strength and skill more than he does his other stats. So he kind of acts in a way sort of like Jamaica in a way, the bow equivalent of an axe user. Except he hits really often, so he's kind of not the bow equivalent of an axe user. That metaphor went nowhere, sorry. I mean, he's alright, but the main problem he suffers from, aside from kind of having a bland personality, but his supports might change that. I haven't read them, but I might want to eventually. The main problem I can see with him is just that speed growth is a little low by Archer standards. And if you look there, I mean, he's got a bit of a lead on Ryan in terms of base speed, but if you look at the average, he's not going to be getting that high. And given that his class has a 30 speed cap, that's kind of what you want from someone in his class, and if he doesn't really deliver in that area, So, yeah, Warren is a bit of a mixed bag, but he has improved considerably since the original Mystery. He's no longer completely worthless. So if you want to use him, go ahead. I personally find his personality a bit too bland, but still. But of course I'm not going to be using him. The only bow user I need is right here. Lol, Path of Radiance voice acting. Anyway, I think it is about time to hit that save point. I've just got to make sure that those Cavaliers aren't in position to kill Marth, because if they are, and I save before they do, that could be a problem. Also, don't watch that guy. Please. Well, you may not double all the time as an archer, but you certainly are critting. Nice one. And level up. Let's see. Mary Sue, thou art broken. Again, like, my unit's total game-breakingness is part of what inspired me to create the whole Sue emblem thing. One more house to visit. And this one's pretty much just a Captain Obvious. So, really, yeah, there's only one nation in this world that's all... Yeah, Arcadia's had it pretty bad since the last war, and I am worried about that Silver Sword guy. Yeah, might not want to hit that save point just yet. Because if I do, and they all rush Marth and kill him, again, I will have the game saved at that point, and I'll have to perpetually watch Marth dying again and again and again, unless I restart the whole chapter. And unfortunately, though, having to equip that Silver Lance to kill the thief means that Aaron was forced to get a kill there, which is annoying, but, and here's what I wanted. I wanted these guys to rush Katria, because she needs the experience. She starts a little... What was I saying about her needing the experience? Thank you, game. Thank you for hearing that and deciding to troll me. RNG, why do you hate me so much? What did I do to you? Okay, please don't stand on the save point. Please. And they stood on the save point. Great, the game is trolling me today. Oh, stupid trolling game. Okay, gotta make sure I can hit that save point, but gotta make sure I don't get killed by the silver sword guy. This is a dilemma. I was just like, notice I was flicking between targets really quickly there. I think I was pretty angry by this point. Get off my save point, you stupid knight. Thank you. Right, now who can hit it? Okay, she can hit the save point and attack in the same turn, but Silver Sword guy may kill her. Is that a risk I'm willing to take? Let's see. Is it? If I can eliminate these two this turn, which I probably won't be able to, if I can survive for this turn, manipulate them into attacking other people, or get lucky with my dodges, or heal Catria and pray she survives, I might get lucky and survive this. Will I get lucky and survive this? We'll find out next time on the Unnecessary Cliffhanger Show. Dun dun dun!